I do want to move into this Yankees rotation. And I think that when you look at this offseason for the Yankees, they got DJ LeMahieu back. That was big for them and their offense. And their offense is going to be, to me, one of the best in baseball. It always has been. They've had their troubles in the postseason, but to me, it's always the pitching. And obviously, they add Cole, and he's the ace. And then this offseason, to me, you lose a lot. You lose three out of five of your rotation guys with Tanaka, Paxton, Happ, and you replace them with, you get Kluber and you get Taillon. Both those guys hasn't pitched since 2018. And to me, it's just, as a team that's looking to go to the World Series, I expected more as a Mets fan. Like, I was expecting the Yankees to go out, especially with the Mets having a good offseason. I was expecting the Yankees go out and get a guy like Trevor Bauer, and they weren't even in talks with him, or someone like him getting another starting pitcher. And Taillon, to me, he's good, but he's a guy that's coming off of now 2 Tommy John surgery. That's a lot of question. And just for me, the New York Yankees, I think that I was expecting them to do more.
Right. And I'll go into some moves in a second, but with the state of the AL as it is now, them not getting better, but not getting really that much worse, honestly, is an upgrade compared to what some of the other teams did. The Astros lost George Springer. The Rays lost Blake Snell and Charlie Morton. And obviously, you mentioned 3/5 of the rotation. James Paxton was an afterthought last year. His velocity was down. His performance, he did not really turn in any good performances. He didn't pitch the last few months of the year. That's not something that we're talking about. Tanaka is the one that does hurt. And, obviously every Yankee fan will tell you Tanaka gave it his all. He was dependable. He pitched through that torn UCL every single year. No complaints. He put up numbers. He was big in the playoffs. So to, dismiss his loss, I'm not going to do that. That is a huge one. But I do like, with the small money ball they were playing, the moves they made. Corey Kluber is one that's really interesting because obviously he's a 2-time Cy Young winner. He's had his own injury problems. But if you look at, who was behind this deal, Eric Cressey, who's the head of player health for the Yankees, he has been training Corey Kluber for the last 5 or so years. So he's a guy who knows everything about Corey Kluber's medicals, everything like that. Corey Kluber took less money to go to the Yankees. It's been reported that teams offered him upwards of $15 million. He took 11 to come here. He believes in Eric Cressey. It's his our pitching coach, was his pitching coach in Cleveland. So there's a lot of familiarity there. And I think, if they get 80% of what Corey Kluber was in Cleveland, that's a deal that's worth it. That's basically what Tanaka was giving you. You brought up Taillon as well. That's a really low-risk move. They didn't give up any notable prospects to get him. He's a guy who has stuff, and when he's healthy, he's going to perform. So it certainly is concerning. I'm not going to go Yankee boy here and tell you it's an easy path to the World Series. This team is stacked. They definitely need someone to step in the rotation, whether that is Herman. Severino is supposed to come back in the second half. That could be a huge boost. He's really the X factor for this team. Debbie Garcia, Clark Schmidt, who's now hurt. They need one of those guys to step up. There's a lot of question marks right here. You hope at least 1 or 2 of the question marks pans out, because if it does, if you look at the state of the AL, I'm going to leave the NL out of it. They have some stacked rotations. In the AL, there really are not that many super rotations. When you have Garrett Cole at the front of your rotation, you're going to be able to win some big games. So if you figure it out, hit on 1 or 2 guys after that, they'll have enough to get there.
It automatically, I think every year with the Yankees, the number one question is health, especially since kind of this team has been formed together, with Judge and Stanton. Pitching has always, these guys going down early in the season, and really then varies, are other guys going to step up. So with these kind of smaller additions we made, or the Yankees made, it's really about health. Is Kluber going to be able to come back, bounce back, and pitch like he has in the past? Because if he does that, oh baby, the Yanks will be ready. Same thing with Taillon. It really all depends on how the health goes for them this season. They did not get worse. Did they get better? I would say it's a light increase of the talent on the team. No big moves made, of course, as we covered, but they didn't get hurt in any way. Better to keep what you have than get hurt, losing guys. I shouldn't say hurt, because now I literally transition into please don't get hurt. If injuries can be avoided for the Yankees, that's been really the biggest issue they've had is themselves getting hurt for the past five seasons, really. And if they can finally go a season keeping guys healthy, guys who were just hurt now back, signing guys who were hurt, hoping that you can get the maximum potential and growth out of them, then you really could be in business as a championship team.
But that's kind of what frustrates me, like, because this Yankees team, they acquired two players that are known, like, over the last few years, they haven't pitched. Like, if you're known for getting hurt, you'd think you'd want guys that go out there and eat innings. They had one in Tanaka, but he leaves. And that's something that, to me, just, I would be worried if I was a Yankees fan, because if you're going into the postseason with Cole and then question marks, we've seen this in the past, and it hasn't worked for the Yankees. And that's something that, to me, I mean, I would like, they were the team that should have got a guy like Carlos Carrasco, an innings eater that, the Mets got a veteran type guy. I really thought that, Bauer, I mean, he may have not been the pitcher because of his off the field stuff, but someone like him where you can, and maybe they'll add someone like him at the deadline, but this is not like the Yankees I'm used to, that just are going to sit back and get these value moves and play Moneyball. Like, I mean, like, why is Moneyball coming up in a conversation about the Yankees? That's something to me that's just like the big bad Yankees. Is this not going to be the big bad Yankees? And that's something that you could talk about the other teams in the AL and how them getting worse. And I completely agree. And this team, just because of that, they're going to be at the same level that they were last year. But the Yankees usually don't have to worry about that. They shouldn't be just not trying to add guys because the other teams didn't get better. It seems like, I don't know, maybe I'm just coming from a Mets fan that just made a lot of moves, but just like knowing from the Yankees as like just this, look, the Mets fans were little brothers. So like to have a off season where we were, better than the Yankees, to me, that's the most puzzling part.
Well, a few things. You're talking about all the question marks in the rotation going into the playoffs. Good thing is the playoffs don't start for another 8 months or whatever. You have a season to figure it out. You have a trade deadline to add. And it is frustrating, sure, to see them go under this luxury tax. It's acting as de facto salary cap in baseball, minus the Dodgers. And the Yankees are one of those teams you'd expect to blow past it, obviously, with their history. So on that sense, I agree with what you're saying. It is a different team. It's not you're going to go out and you're going to spend every offseason to get better. That has been a shift in mindset in recent years, though. Garrett Cole obviously is an exception because of what they need. Like, they needed a guy like that at the front of the rotation. Obviously, it's frustrating, but at the same time, I still have a ton of faith in Brian Cashman. He always knows how to get better. He's so creative. And as I said earlier, there's a long time between now and October. A lot can happen at the deadline. Some guys get available. Cashman could strike. And some of these guys could hit, right? We're letting them off. Corey Kluber, you talked about Carrasco. He's had injury problems. He had elbow soreness. He went through a similar thing that Taillon had to go through, right, with his cancer. So, this offseason, it was slim pickings for the Yankees. They were never going to get a guy like Bauer. I don't think it would have been advised to spend $70 million on two pitchers when you have 3, 4, and 5. That would have been even bigger question marks. They said all along that they let Tanaka go. It was 2 for the price of 1. We'll see if that 2 in Kluber and Taillon is worth it, because that'll define the Yankees offseason, right? They kept DJ LeMahieu. That was huge. At some points, that was questioned. So you give him credit there. But if Kluber or Taillon, maybe both of them hit, it's a fine offseason. We'll go into the season. We'll see what we need. And I trust Brian Cashman to improve this team at the deadline if there's a glaring hole somewhere.
And I agree. I think the trade deadline, they may go out and get someone. Like, I really do think that. And if they do, and then they get that big pitcher, maybe it's only like a rental for a year and then like money's not an issue, I could definitely see that. But just like, I guess for the Yankees, I feel like I'm used to the George Steinbrenner, the Mets make a move. Okay, we'll make a big move. And that's something that just didn't happen.